it's crazy because you get back Cole, you lose Fried. You get Fried back, you lose Rodon. You get Rodon back, you lose Fried. It's like the dominoes keep spinning, and here we are, somehow the semblance of a season. But there comes a point because, everything that like all the positivity, and I've obviously been negative this year as well with the offense, and I thought they should have done more at the deadline. You guys know this, but all of the positivity that I've conjured up, like it hasn't been a figment of my imagination. It's not me just being a fanboy. It's me trying to at least be fair and thread the needle and look at the reality of, all right, what we want the Yankees to be, what the Yankees currently are, but also the circumstances and the blows, the repeated blow after blow after blow that the Yankees have been dealt. I just, weaker franchises, franchise with a weaker infrastructure would have imploded by now. And, I don't know, maybe the implosion comes at some point, but man, oh man, this is crazy stuff. This is the second time this year that Max Fried is out with a bone bruise. And you got to understand, Jared, just get that image up once more, please. The relation, the proximity of the bone bruise. Look at that bone bruise right there. Look at where the bone bruise is. And then look, so, there's the 2 arrows there, right? Look at the bone bruise. And then look right above it, right around 2 o'clock there. Look at the UCL, the UCL ligament, okay? Now, the bone bruise, that is just one size. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to remain that size. Bone bruises widen, they get worse, they stretch out, and there's really no rhyme or reason. Now, there's a limit because the bone's only so big, but once that bone bruise as the bone swells, which it does, or as the bone begins to chafe away just a little bit, those little micro traumas that I mentioned before around the joint, that is now perilously close to that ligament that determines whether or not a pitcher can actually do his job. I mean, look at that. I'm not talking about like the ear and the waist or the ankle and the elbow. Look at the relation to the bone bruise and the ligament. And that's got to terrify you. It's got to absolutely it terrifies me, because you can get me back up, Jay. Thanks. But as much as I'm happy that Rodon's back, I mean, Rodon you talk about the Yankees rotation, it's the big three, and then there's a big drop. Now, one of the things that I've said for a while is that this goes back to spring training and then obviously points this year where I'm like, just, wait, when the Yankees get healthy, when the Yankees get whole, when the Yankees run out, Cam, Fried, Cole, Rodon, and then either a Schmidt or back then a Luis Heel or a Will Warren or a LeGrand, all the different possible Elmer Rodriguez, as we've gone through this year, I always made the distinction that there's a pretty stark drop from the top three to Rodon. And I'm a Rodon fan. Now, am I an ultimate believer in Carlos Rodon? No. We saw him pitch in the playoffs last year against Toronto. The reason why I've defended Rodon a little bit here over the last year plus is because I think that there's been an overwhelming misrepresentation of what he's been as a Yankee. Granted, when you got him in free agency, we all expected more. The first year didn't go very well. He didn't really interact with the fans that well. He had to figure New York out a little bit. But then after year one, here's a guy who was taking the ball 32, 33 times a year, and there's value in that. And he was giving his team a chance to win. But this does change the entire formula where if Fried's gone, and it's going to be more than the 15-day IL, you could take that to the bank. You could take it to the bank. All right. So whenever he comes back, if he comes back, it's not just a mere insertion like, okay, Rodon for Fried. Now the Yankee rotation is absolutely weakened. Everybody knows this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I'm not breaking news here. I'm not splitting the atom open like a scientist. I mean, without Max Fried, they're not as good. And even with the return of Rodon is just not Max Fried. And everything that I formulated this year pertaining to the Yankees has been big picture. I'm not saying that we don't get wrapped up in the minutia of the day-to-day occurrences and happenings of a baseball season. You have to. I mean, otherwise, what are you doing? You can't just say, see you in October. Like, you've got to hit the different checkpoints, whether that's Volpe early on, whether it's guys coming back from injuries, whether it's Judge going down, whether it's Bellinger going down, whether it's Wells hitting $160, whether it's Grisham up until somewhat recently, beginning to turn it on a little bit, whether it's Dominguez, whether it's Jones, whether it's Rice, who looked like, basically a Don Mattingly for the first couple of months of the season, whether it's Bednar at the back end of the bullpen, whether it's whatever was in front of Bednar that's been good, like, and some of those issues, like we've hit everything. We've hit absolutely everything. But like my take in totality has always been the Yankees in October will be different than what they are now. And I've always tried to kind of walk that tightrope, never saying for sure that I believe Aaron Judge is coming back. I don't know that he is. I know Bellinger's coming back, which is good. And it was all predicated on the Yankees having one of the best rotations this century. And I remember couple of months, about a month or so ago, I went through, you guys could find it on the channel, where I went through every Yankee rotation, Clemens, Pettit, El Duque, up to, guys like Montgomery and Tanaka and Taillon, not that they're in the same category, but just that entire cross-section of Yankee top 3 pitchers. And my assertion then, and it remains my assertion, problem is we might not get to this point, is that the Yankees top 3 of Schlittler and Cole, and I think Fried's better, Schlittler, Fried, and Cole, that's why I put Cole 3, Fried 2, is better than any other Yankee big 3 this century. I believe that. When they're all right, and they're all humming, and they're all dealing, because nobody can tell me that the Yankees have had anybody, including Sabathia. I didn't see vintage Guidry in the 70s, even though I know the numbers, but I didn't see him, so I can't really give you a real-time comment or a real-time feel there. I don't think the Yankees have had a pitcher as dominant and as good as Cam Schlittler in my lifetime. Now it doesn't mean he's going to be the playoff horse that Andy Pettit is, or some big games like Roger Clemens against Seattle with 14 or 15 strikeouts when he buzzed A-Rod's head. I mean, I'm not saying that's or El Duque big game chops. I'm not, although he's shown an early penchant for big game chops. Look at him last year against the Red Sox. But in terms of sheer stuff, Cam Schlittler's got as good a stuff as any Yankee pitcher I've ever seen in my life. That includes a vintage David Cone, everybody, Sabathia, you name it. That's how I feel. And now you start to slot in behind that the other 2 guys, like, okay, that was always my life preserver to the season. That was always the saving grace. That always represented a massive upside of possibility. And then yesterday, as you're scrolling, hey, wow, Rodon's going to make the start. Keep scrolling up, Fried to the IL. It's ridiculous.